Okay, Summer Chord might have given Win teams exactly what they've been waiting for, and that's going to be that Ayaka is coming out with a summer variant in 2 days for TW and KR servers. This time she's not going to be coming out with a support, but as a Win sweeper, which is the first one that we've ever had inside the game. Considering how much P5X has been pushing the specialized elemental teams lately and trying to make things a little bit better, I think she's going to be a very important character for the future of the Win teams. But the real question is Summer Chord going to be actually worth your pulls, or is she just going to be a character that looks insane inside the trailer but becomes replaceable once the next DPS drops? Now, this isn't specifically going to be a should you summon video. I'll have that later on throughout the week, though if you do want my opinion at the end of the video, I'll be sure to give it on out based on the information I do know and have seen thus far. Today we're going to be breaking down everything we know about Summer Chord, what makes her different from regular Chord, who she wants on her team, and most importantly, if it's going to be really worth it. But with that out of the way, my name is Bladecifer, and let's get straight into it. So first things first here, let's get this obvious thing out of the way. Chord herself is going to be a new summer variant, and this is totally different from her supporter ways. Originally she was an electric strategist. This one's going to be a Win sweeper, still utilizing the same persona, just with a different look. Now the distinction is going to be pretty darn big because, as I said before, one is a support, one straight up a DPS, and don't worry, you're not going to be replacing the existing Chord. She will still be in her supporter role and still be a good support in some teams that utilizes highlights. Though Summer Chord works distinctively different, which is a little bit weirder. Instead of being the way to considerably help out highlight gauge and force your teammates to considerably get their highlight all the time, she does something totally different. In fact, everyone on her team cannot use their highlights and only she can. But the cool part about this, every time that is her turn, she's able to trigger one ally's highlight with no resource costs, which is a huge deal, especially when it comes down to keeping the highlight for herself, which will go into her stacks. The core damage mechanic is morally going to be her skill 3, which is going to allow her to unleash the stacks that she gets from using her highlights and using her skills called Star Wish and make them be spent on that skill 3. That skill 3 will deal a huge amount of damage, as well as if you already activated the skill 1, will allow it to deal a after additional effect, which acts as a resonance damage follow-up, which is always pretty cool to actually do. Now overall, the character herself is a pretty interesting unit. She looks like she has a lot of things going for her, though there are some specific things that we do need to know. One of which is how to build her, and 2 is the skills. So let's go ahead and dive straight into this. Now before we get into the video, I would like to go ahead and share some light on our sponsor today, being LOOTBAR. LOOTBAR. LOOTBAR.com is a top-up website that is trusted, secure, and immensely cheaper than most in-game stores, which many of you may have heard inside of multiple gacha communities. Not only are they amazing at what they do, but they're also pretty darn quick, and if you really want to save up to like 20% off on most of your game's currency or in-game items, this might be the place you want to go. Now I normally use this for most of my games, or my main ones being 7DS Origins and P5X, and the way they usually do this is by using the official top-up channels, unlike unauthorized sellers do. Everything is pretty much a nice way to get you something cheaper here, while also getting you a little bit extra for your buck. That's always something I like to do, and as a person who is a little bit of a cheapskate, I will do everything I need to do in order to get my packs for the cheapest price I can. They're pretty effective and quick, so if you want to save some extra bucks while enjoying your game, this may be the way to go. I practically use them all the time, and if you'd like to go ahead and do so as well, you can make an account or continue on your current account, and I'll have my link down below. So if any of you guys are really interested, be sure to click that link down below and you should get some discounts just like mine's above here. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get back to the rest of the video. If you decided to support, thank you once again, and let's go ahead and get back to the video. Starting off with her build itself, I need to make sure I do some testing on this, but for her normal self, she does seem to have a new card set as well as a space set, one of them being called Ego, as well as the other one is called Reflection. Essentially, it's going to help her out more on the follow-up damage. I don't know all too much about this set itself, seeing that it is very new. We'll talk more about it once, of course, the update does come out. Though for her build, it does come down to the same normal DPS type stats. where you're gonna obviously need your crit damage, crit rate, damage multi, pierce, attack percent, you name it, it's one of those. It's gonna be a huge list, and I'll have an accurate build guide coming out when, of course, she does release in her update. But alongside of this here, we want to go ahead and check out some of the skills. So starting off with the first skill, this one apparently translates to Celestial Concerto, and this one itself does a decent bit of AoE damage, being up to 330.9% of attack. Well, by going ahead and doing this, you open something called Summer Starscape, and this allows her to increase her attack damage by 39% and restore her highlight energy to 100%. By going ahead and doing this, she cannot use the skill once again, but before the end of Ayaka's turn, she then does wind damage to all foes by 41.4%, and this is going to be counted as follow-up or resonance damage. Then we have the second skill called Unfinished Song. Unfinished Song itself is going to not only give her 2 of these stacks called Improvised Songs for at least 2 whole turns, but it allows her to restore her highlight energy by 32% once she does this. All the while, she does deal some damage up to 173.7%, and after she does use Unfinished Song for the first time, she will immediately activate Improvised Song, which gives her the highlight energy recovered. So essentially, you're going to be able to utilize your highlight energy and still get it back with the number 2 skill. The number 2 skill is pretty much how we're able to, instead of having it built in her passive, getting you more highlight gauge, she's able to at least increase this with that said skill. So number 2 skill is more of your highlight battery that you always want to go ahead and use. Then you have the skill 3 called Windward Melody. Windward Melody itself does damage to all foes that are there, obviously for 2 attacks, being 105.1%. Though, if Starscape is now open, you're able to then spend all your Star Wish stacks, and for each stack that's spent, you're able to activate Summer Starscape. Now remember, Summer Starscape, as long as it is open here, at the end of the turn is going to do a follow-up hit. So for each of those stacks, you're obviously going to do that. But if she does spend 3 of these Star Wish stacks, she increases her Summer Starscape skill damage by 100%, which is always a cool thing. For her highlight more or less is going to be another way to get more stacks for yourself, but it also increases her Summer Starscape's critical damage by 24.4%. After you're spending the 100% of the highlight energy, each 50% of highlight energy that is then gained gives you a bonus stack, allowing you not only to furtherly increase Summer Starscape's critical damage, but also allowing you to just deal even more damage. So the character herself does have a bag of tricks, which is pretty interesting based on her skills so far, though we're going to see exactly what happens later down the line when it comes down to it. So that's always going to be pretty cool to at least test out when we get our hands on her and actually get to try this as well. She has some cool passives, such as one that increases her Summer Starscape's damage, and she can actually dispel a buff each turn as well, which is always cool to go against the enemies. Alongside of this, she has another one that increases her highlights and 3G increase and her attack percentage by 21% for 2 turns. If an ally does use their highlight or 3G, it obviously does increase her attack percent, which is always the only thing that we look for, which is always great. So that can stack up to 2 whole times, and when I was first reading this, it didn't sound correct, so I had to actually correct myself just now, and it's actually stated as long as someone or an ally is using their highlight in 3G, then she gets the attack increase. So I do apologize for that previous statement beforehand. But always a cool thing here. I'm not going to dive too much into awarenesses. I'm going to save that for builds, because I think that is going to be a different can of worms to actually go ahead and look at, seeing that I haven't really gotten the chance to try out the character just yet. As for the teammates here, this is where things get a little bit interesting, because they've been really trying to push forward some of the teams itself and making them more of our things we need to look at. If you want pretty much a win team, or you want to build a serious win team, this is the game pretty much telling you that here is your DPS, and that she's not going to be an isolated unit itself. You're going to end up looking into the entire win ecosystem as it slowly builds out, and she is going to be a main DPS that you can always look forward to. With the supporters around her, that is always going to be very good to look at, so I think that's going to be cool to actually have one of those characters that are available. But for the team, as I did say before, they've been prepping us for a while with this whole deal. Mainly because Mona Starlight is one of her best in slot characters that you can always use, with 2 other buffers as a stand-in. One of the buffers you could use is Wind Tempest, seeing that she recently got a level 100. That's pretty darn good as well, not only helping you out on skill damage, but crit damage as well as pierce damage, which is always good to see. Or you can end up using the other option if you do have him, being Joker Starlight. If I'm correct, Joker Starlight is the better choice out of the two. I do have to, of course, do some more research on that, so do not quote me on that just yet, seeing I have not gotten my hands on the character just yet. Though I will be trying to use both of them and comparing the scores to see how much damage it does do. As for the best in slot Navi, you're going to want to head and look at Miku, mainly because she's going to help you out with her turns amount that she can actually do, as well as she's going to give you various different buffs that are going to be insanely worth it for her. Obviously, with the additionals such as the Sync Mindscape that we do have provided, and then of course our Virtual Concert, it will allow you to deal a ton more damage with the chord at hand, which is going to be very cool as well. Now, I don't have really much to say about this character. The last thing that I do want to look at is going to be her weaponry, and it does seem like her weapon I'm going to end up going for, seeing that it increases your critical rate by 18.1%. And then of course, if you are also doing this, after you open Summer Starscape, it will then permanently increase your critical damage by 32.8%. Though after you use a highlight, it gets one more bonus as well, and this increases your resonance damage, or the follow-up damage amplification, by 12% for 2 whole turns. Seeing that this character is going off of follow-ups themselves too with the Starscape that you do have, this may be a very worth it weapon itself. You could go for the 4-star weapon, which does still help you out with your Star Wish stacks and increasing your damage, though it's not giving you obviously the critical rate and critical damage or the damage amplification. I do think the 5-star is probably going to be worth it, and I'm going to try to get my hands on it as fast as possible. But with that out the way, we did take a little bit of a look at Summer Chord, and she does arrive in 2 whole days, so I want to know from you guys, what do you want to do? Are you going to be summoning for the character? Are you not going to be summoning for the character? Comment down below, because I really want to know. I'm going to be trying to get the character, and eventually we're going to try and do the full breakdown of a good build guide for her, so make sure you subscribe for that one, because once the numbers are fully tested for myself, we're going to be going all in. But with that out the way, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp. Peace.